As much as you, the founder, know there's so many competitors, your target audience often has no idea there's one exists, never mind 100. And so if you can offer brilliant support, that's as strong as the product is alone. The less available it is, the more valuable it is. And so I just made it, yep, we've made a decision, I'm in. And then the angel investor said, I'm not in, but it's a majority, so let's do it. I was like, no. We take on 3K, lose a K, take on 5K, lose 2K.
Welcome to Playbook for Sales and Founders, where unknown heroes share how they entered new markets.
Learn practical advice from those just 2 steps ahead of you. Our next unknown hero is...
Welcome to the show, dear listeners. It's really great to see you all here. And today I'm going to have an awesome chat with Patrick Collins. For his background, he's a former professional footballer, turned sales coach, turned into a software entrepreneur, turned into a sales studio. What made me curious is how Patrick went from a concept or the idea how to grow from 0 to 10K, actually practicing it. And for me, the most interesting traits of Patrick are that he eats his own dog food, that he tries out the stuff he says others should do. You mentioned that you are introvert, and
yes,
yet your full career is sales. Usually,
yes,
the assumption is that the sales guys have to be the loudest, the outgoing, everybody's friend kind of type of guys. And you say that you are introvert. How does this give you advantage as a sales guy that you are introvert?
Yes. So I've been studying my brain and my mindset and my thought process more and more over the past couple of years. And there's a context. So my father is was a quality control civil engineer. So this is a highly OCD guy, tidies his socks, his pants, his shorts, everything. The house is perfect with him. My mother is a very entrepreneurial, multilingual, highly ADHD, and she's only been realizing this the past couple of years. And then even when I'm training, I'd be more than happy speaking in front of thousands, but I wouldn't feel there's thousands there. I'd be trying to speak to one. So you'll very rarely find me at a trade show. You'll find me having a coffee with somebody after the trade show or something like that. So I think why it's helpful for sales is just laser focused. The main thing I realize is I don't fully believe in multitasking. I believe in having a checklist and getting through things and being organized. I think for any salespeople, they have to, or any successful entrepreneur, they have to have a laser focus to know what they want to achieve. What a salesperson needs is just an ability to listen better than you speak. A very good salesperson, somebody who's full of charm and charisma, makes other people feel welcome. They're not talking about themselves all the time. So I always say to people the 3 most important words in English dictionary, tell me more. Just say that all the time about anything, your partner, a salesperson, an employee, and they either solve the problem themselves or they open up to what's really the problem. And that's why you sell to them.
Awesome. So let's dive into the amazing story of Prospect Labs. Why I like this story, that in a nutshell, you bootstrapped it, you licensed software without building any line of code yourself, and then became a software company. And then at the point you tried to sell it, or actually you were asked to sell it back to the company who made the white label software in the first place. So it was kind of like bizarre how you borrow something. You basically borrow a hammer, and then the owner from whom you borrowed it said, "Hey, I want to buy it back."
Yeah. Well, it's a crazy story, and I don't think I've read anything of a white label selling the white label back to the company who's white labeled. So there's a huge amount of twists and turns that I'll explain all of it. But I think, should we start from the very start of what?
Start from a very scratch. How did you get to a point that you as a sales coach want to start a software company?
Of course. So very, very start was the transition from football to startup. And I say to everybody, I've had 2 jobs. Professional footballer and startup. Didn't go to university. And when I got to get a few injuries, when I wasn't as good as some of the other players, I realized this is not the career for me. So at around 23, 24, I just said, I'm done with this. I've had enough. So we came out of football, and I remember looking online, and at the time Gumtree was quite popular, and there was an ad, and it said, beers on a Friday, flexible working hours, entrepreneurial spirit needed. I was like, this sounds great. And I joined, and it was a startup in a very early accelerator. It was called Ignite in Newcastle, very early accelerator. And there was just basically a load of quite nerdy guys in a room with just trying to figure things out. I thought, this is really cool. And that was my injection into startup world. And that was 13, 14 years ago. And instantly, without being in a business capacity, I was comfortable at trying to hack things, find shortcuts, find quicker things. And because I was quite well spoken, they said, just pick up the phone and start ringing people. And once I started ringing people, I thought, well, I need to get numbers. I need to find data. And if I have data, then I can do emails. If I can do emails, I can automate it. There was this natural progression of how lazy can I be to get to the quickest results as possible? Because if you're naturally ambitious, you realize if I've done the same thing again twice, there's got to be a hack. And so that took me through cold calling, cold emailing, LinkedIn, lead generation. I realized my passion is actually training people, consulting, coaching what I'm learning. And so I said to the organizer of the accelerator, do you mind if I do a talk to your startups on some of the things I'm doing? That was a stamp in my life that actually, you're more of a coach, a consultant than an employee. And I still remember in the talk, I talked about one thing, which was the importance of silence. When you're pitching your idea, you're selling to somebody, let somebody have some silence in between. And I said, if you're raising investment, you'll find a lot of investors will ask you some awkward questions and just have this awkward silence. But this all progressed to, I had an ambition to want to train as many people as I could. I wanted to travel a bit and I wanted to be independent. And so the idea was, we'll just do social media, data research, marketing, whatever, as long as we can make money whilst we travel. And 13, 14 years ago, maybe even longer, there wasn't much digital nomad. There wasn't too much co-working spaces. So we were just trying to figure out a way to do anything to work online. And one of our first clients that we got was a company called 99 Designs, which are basically what Vinted are now. It's a community exchange. And they were part of Y Combinator at the time, which I had no idea what this was. And so we got the job online through a platform called Upwork. And I thought, geez, these are Y Combinator, the biggest startup accelerator in the world. They want me to help with data research, marketing, whatever. I'm sort of working for Y Combinator startup. This is the direction I want to go. And so we just developed that agency to go from just random social media and marketing to lead generation, sales, things that startups need. And that progressed from Timely PA to the lead agency. And then from the leads agency, we realized this sounds too much like an agency and not enough of a brand. And so rebranded to Prospect Labs. And I think that for Prospect Labs takes us to just prior COVID, where everything started to kick off.
So what was the point when you felt that, okay, now we are running this studio of lead gen and prospecting and that part that you had from early on, you had the mindset of, if I have to do the same task twice, I want to automate it. But
Yes.
when was the click that, okay, I have done this lead gen LinkedIn thing?
At the time, my agency was using a LinkedIn software called Duck Soup. Really stupid name, but really catchy. And this was a LinkedIn automation tool, but it was a Chrome plugin, which basically meant for you to use it, you had to have your laptop open. You had to let it run as a bot on top of your laptop. And when you switch your laptop off, it stopped working. So it was like a lot of problems to scale, basically, because this software was the best at the time, but it couldn't scale it. And I messaged the support and said, can we get some help? And then he emailed me back. So I had a chat with them and I realized his product was way better than the support. So I said to him, do you want me to just set up all of the support, the live chat, the knowledge base, Facebook groups, all these sorts of things, outsource it a bit to me and I'll grow it for you? And he said, great. So on the side of doing my agency, I then had one quite large consultant client where I set everything up for him. And then he said, well, do you know anybody who would like to join the team? So I hired 3 or 4 people in Vilnius, Lithuania, where I live, and built that sort of little hub. That lasted about 2 years, and I'd become an expert at the product whilst using the product on my own agency, whilst getting paid for it. So it sort of made complete sense. Then there was a new tool that came out called Expandy, and Expandy was the first LinkedIn tool that tried to, so Expandy.io, based in Eindhoven, the first LinkedIn tool that tried to make it look like a SaaS startup. And what I mean by this is that all of the LinkedIn tools at the time were very hacky, very poorly advertised, weird websites. It's just a very unregulated industry that nobody was really leading the way. And so when they started using it, again, my same process, I learned about these. I went on live chat, got speaking to them, and we clicked a lot. So sort of the same story happens. I start testing it and I'm like, this is amazing, but you've got tons of things missing. Can I sort of give you loads of product feedback, refer people and that sort of thing? And so I started using them for my own agency, and my agency started to grow because suddenly I've got a tool that can help me to scale. And then that took me to January or February 2020. So basically COVID all coming into play. I've got an agency that's, I think we were on about 30K a month, so doing well. We were charging about 2.5K per startup, and we were in a good position. But I remember watching the news, everything, all the panic started happening about COVID. And I remember it was Ivar, so Trend VC. And I messaged him and said, what's your plan? What do you think? And he said, I think everybody's going to pull the plug on investment. I think anybody who outsources sales and marketing will pull the plug. Everybody's just basically going to pause things for a couple of months. Little did we know people paused things for basically 2 years. But at the time, his advice was cut everything. And so that was like the stamp in my mindset that said, I've got to adapt to this. But it took me probably an hour to make a decision. It was very, very quick. It was just a gut feeling of something's really, really not right here. I need to change.
You read the signs on the wall that shit is going to hit the fan. You got advice from a VC investor at pull the plug. It's going to be awful. Nobody is going to spend anything. And you said that you made a decision to kind of close it down or shut it down in an hour. But okay, now what?
So then I have a chat with my team. So I had 5 employees at the time. And I said, we have 2 options. We either work double as hard to keep clients, or we come up with a new plan. What do you think? And so we had a chat and we decided most agencies are going to scale down or quit. And so he said, let's create an online course. Let's create a training academy. Let's do it for 6 weeks. People are going to be online at home. They're going to be panicked. They want to be busy. We're industry experts at what we do. Let's train people. So we created a website in about a day or 2, and we sort of created the agenda for the first week. And the plan was by the second week, we'll have had it ready because we've got a week from the first week to get it created. And so we just went into crazy sales mode of selling the course. And I think it was 250 euros per person. And we raised about, I think it was about 18,000 euros in sales to get people on this course. So I had been growing my network for years. I'd been training a lot of people, but it was the first time I ever said, I have a product that's me, not just book me for a workshop or as an agency. There was a lower value sell. And from that, I sort of realized, oh, this is interesting. So I can have something that's a monthly recurring also almost. I've finally got to the point where I'm selling something that's like $200 a month, not 2,000 or not a day rate or something like that. And that was the turning point where I thought, I'm going to train all these people on a LinkedIn software. I've got however many, 120 or something people on the course. I could get money from this from recommending softwares as well. And then that was the point where it clicked, where I thought, well, why would I recommend? Why don't I just let people know I've built my own? And it was a very hard dilemma because I feel slightly fraudulent just saying, yes, I've been building this in the background. I've not told you, but now it's ready and you can use it. And that to me, I wasn't too sure. It didn't sit really, really well. But at the same time, it was a time of COVID where I was like, I need to figure out a way to scale, how to sell. I think there's an opportunity here. I'm going to go for it. And I never had my own software. And my tagline at the time was always, the guy will help you get to your first 10K monthly revenue. I thought, okay, this is the chance to white label a product, act like it's mine. I'll run a 6-week training course. And at the end, I'll give everybody early stage access to use it. And then that might get my first couple of €1,000. So that was the transition from a 6-week course to then I need to have a software white labeled, act like it's mine and get ready to sell day one of after the 6 weeks because I've got hundreds of people ready to use it. And so that was the transition from building an online training academy to then saying, okay, I think I need to go down the route of software.
How you got the idea of white labeling?
Yes.
How did you go about it? How do I find the software I could white label and which suits all the needs, what you had figured out that what the software should do?
Expandy was the one I was currently using my agency. I was an expert at it. And so I thought this is going to be very easy, that if I can white label and do it in the right way, it's going to make complete sense. what I didn't realize is I didn't know what white label meant. I thought white label meant you stick your logo on the product and you sell the same as them, but to other people. What I've later realized is white label is more an agency will offer this to their agency clients, maybe 30 clients, but the software who provides it might still have thousands of clients. So I didn't realize that I was white labeling it, almost charging the same price to white label as the company that offers it as a software. And they made a big mistake of letting somebody white label a product that was the same price as what they're selling. So they were charging $99 a month, and usually a white label will charge $500 as part of the agency, or $2,000, and they white label the software and they say it's their own. But in this case, for my academy, I was saying to people it's 99 euros a month. So there's like exchange rate difference, but that was it. So suddenly there's now a direct competitor on the market to Expandy, which is Expandy, but its white label is mine. And because I've got a good brand, I've got, as in a good community, a lot of good training, they basically created a competitor themselves, which there's lots of pros and cons to that, but it was either very smart or very naive of them. But they were the one that said, yeah, go for it. We agreed a good commission split. I think it was about 30% of every account sold, they would get. So I would get 70%, they would get 30%, but there was no monthly fee. So a lot of commissions or white labels will say minimum 2K a month. They would say nothing, just go for it. And so that's why I chose Expandy, to say, well, I'm an expert at the product. I think I can just white label this. So when we agreed to white label it, in tandem with creating that 6-week online course, we had to basically pretend we have a product. So we had to create an intercom knowledge base with photo screenshots of everything. We had to create onboarding messages, but this started to get really fun because this is all the stuff I trained startups on how to do. And I was now saying I can build it for myself, because I've never built an onboarding trial process for anything I do because it's consulting. But now I've got a product. What's the first email? How do you speak to them? That sort of thing. And so what we decided was, for the white label product, we would create a clone of superhuman.com website, one-page website, but a really nice clone. Looked brilliant, very minimal, but just basically said LinkedIn tool will help you get quicker results, but very little about it. A picture of me on it, and just said request access. And I learned this from superhuman.com, and before that, a LinkedIn tool called Ulink. Make it hard for people to get access, and they want it more. Yeah. The less available it is, the more valuable it is. And so I just made it closed and said, to get access, you've got to request access. And then I said to everybody, if you want access, I then have to do a demo call showing you about it, and then we'll do an onboarding call. So not scalable at all, but I thought, if I'm going to go for this, I'm going to make sure people really know how to do it. And then my impact is people can get great results, which was the core of this.
Enjoying Playbook for Sales and Founders? Follow us on LinkedIn and join our exclusive Slack community to connect with founders and sales pros for tips and updates.
So you build it up in such a way that you don't just want anybody starting to use your product, that
yes,
you designed it in such a way that anybody starting to use will succeed. So
yes,
pretty much your first 100 customers, all of them will succeed. Why did you decide to do it this way? Because lean startup methodology and all these others say that whatever, throw it out and take anybody who comes and learn as it goes to figure out who is the right fit. And then it's okay if not all stick around, but they made it very, very, very deliberate, right? That my first 100 customers have to succeed. Why
well,
so?
I think this goes back to the laser focus again, the wanting to be tidy and wanting to be organized. And I don't know if it was just luck for me or it was actually the right approach, but making it harder for people to sign up meant they wanted it more. There was a little bit more hype about it. They valued it more, but also it just meant I could filter people that I don't want to work with. Basically, we want a community of well-mannered, good people to work with that respect the amount of effort I would put in to match their effort. And that was really clear. So if you think about it, we would do request access. We'd do a 30-minute call with myself or my colleague, get to know them, learn what the goals are, learn what they're currently doing. Then we would give them access, which was I think it was a 14-day trial. And then on that trial, they would then get an onboarding call. We would help set everything up for them. And then as part of the support, we would then have intercom that would flag they haven't created a campaign, they haven't logged in or something. And we would either automate that, or from time to time, we would manually reach out and just say, I see you haven't done this. Can we jump on a call and we'll set it up for you? But our goal within the trial was make sure they were live with campaigns, not necessarily getting results, but they were live and saw that result of this is working. And it just worked. It got the same thing I would do is if I started another startup and raised investment, I would do the exact same thing because the churn rate was extremely low. We churned, I would say, €1,000 in 9 months. So we only churned about €1,000 in total, but we got to about 16,000 in about 9 months. So in €1,000, that's 10 people. So we lost 10 people in 9 months. So as much as you, the founder, know there's so many competitors, your target audience often has no idea there's one exists, never mind 100. And so there are a very advanced user, but the majority of users are from middle advanced to very basic. And so if you can offer brilliant support, that's as strong as the product is alone. So fortunately for me, as a white label, I'd already used the product. The product was great and we could rely on it. So we made our support incredible. In theory, we're the best on the market because people are getting live chat, onboarding, we're doing guides. And so world-class support was the one thing I thought, this is my USP. This is different to what I do as a consultant, and any startup that I train, I try and push this as well. So I think that's what made us a little bit different.
That this brilliant support wasn't scalable. Did you have in mind how to scale it later on? Or you didn't care it in the moment, but you just wanted your whatever first 1,000 customers or 100, and then you figure it out later how to automate it when it becomes too burdensome to do this support.
So the reason I saw that support was not scaling was, imagine if I built the product and you as the customer messaged me and said, this is a bug, I would speak to my dev team, I would push them, I would be hands-on, find out what's going on, get back to the customer and say, apologies, thanks for the feedback, it's fixed. If it's a white label, you tell me, and then I message support at Expandy, and their support says, who are you? And I'm like, I'm Pat, the white label, and what's your email? And so I was like a customer speaking to Expandy, yet I had a couple of 100 customers chasing me up, and I was in the middle messaging Expandy one by one saying, I've got a bug. And because they were used to agencies having 20 to 50 clients, they weren't used to a white label having 200 softwares. So our bugs were on a daily basis. There was a problem, something didn't load. And that's for normal software, never mind a LinkedIn one, where as soon as LinkedIn changes one thing, the whole product just breaks and it has to be rebuilt a little bit. So I would be messaging Expandy and the support was terrible. So the same cycle starts again where I message the founder and say, I can't scale my product if your support sucks so much. Can I build it for you? So I scaled our white label by scaling the software's support so that they could support us better and then we could offer better support. So that's where I worked with Expandy as a consultant, and that's where we built all Intercom, knowledge bases, things like that. And one of the easiest things for Intercom is so triaging, where they would treat everybody with the same feedback, the same pace. And I said, if somebody has 200 accounts or somebody hasn't got an account and sign up for trial, surely you can't treat them the same level of tone, the same familiarity, and certainly not time delay of an hour or something. So I showed them how to segment it. Of people that are the most valuable get an answer straight away to a specific account manager that's trained. And once I built that all up, then in tandem, my white label now has a direct account manager, direct line to fix everything. So then we could scale. So I had to go to the core of the problem to fix it, which is a bizarre story because you don't do this in a dev.
Basically, you carved out special customer support for yourself in the other company so that you could scale faster.
Exactly, yeah. And it obviously helped Expandy because to this day, they still have a very similar setup. You go on, it has the same triage of questions, it goes the same processes. It was built to scale, which it always is for things like this. So that was where the tipping point was, okay, if we can really scale this, they can really scale, everybody's happy, and let's go for this. We went live November 2020. So the first month went from 0 to €1,600, like monthly revenue straight away. And then it took 6 months to get to 10K. And then from Jan 2022 to October 2022, we got to 35K. So it started to pick up. And all of this was still at the point where we wouldn't advertise we're a LinkedIn automation software because we're not really. Expandy is. We're a white label. So we did nothing on organic traffic. We did nothing for paid ads because I didn't really want to fraudulently advertise the best LinkedIn automation tool on the market, because we're not. Expandy are. If you look at their story, they remortgaged their houses. They slept in the angel investors' spare house to just have a place to live whilst they built this product. They sacrificed a lot to get to the point where I just white labeled. So my respect for them was surely not going to act publicly that I was them. The other thing is they were way better marketers than me. The founder, Stefan, was a real genius, building communities, doing online webinars, trade shows, like full energy, constant. And so Expandy is a success story. They got to 3 million ARR in the first year. So this is pretty crazy. And so I was one of multiple people all scaling their businesses from using their product. It's a real example of how any startup made me realize, apart from your outreach and sales, do you have a brilliant affiliate program, or do you have an even better white label program, and really go down that route of building white labels and treat them like your sales team, then building a sales team. And I've also realized that a lot of startups, this is why it's such a risk, but they say 30% commission for the first 12 months and that's all. Some of the best startups say lifetime commission for anybody you refer and stays a customer. So I imagine if you're investing in a company, you don't want to know this company's got people on lifetime deals. But at the same time, as a partner, if you can sign up and refer people and get a lifetime commission, it's amazing. So I learned a lot from that, both of how to white label my own product, but also for the future of training startups, the value of affiliate schemes and white label. We scaled just based on, we scaled the software first, and then we scaled our white label. And I think that got to, I think it was October 2022 was the sort of the peak where we got to that now as software. But the frustration was always not sort of imposter syndrome, like I can't do this, because I've got to the first 10K within 6 months is what I train. We've got to 35K, so I've experienced a little bit of scale, a bit of hiring, bits of community or things like that. But I didn't build it. And I still always felt this point of, I want to go bigger than this. This is not big enough for what I want. And so this goes into the next chapter of sort of figuring out what to happen. It got to the point where I was thinking, I want to go bigger. And I saw Expandy grow and we were chatting. And so it got to the point of, well, maybe they acquire Prospect Labs and I join their team and we go down that route. And to me, this meant I could get out of the trap of pretending I built my own product, because I could say to my audience, well, we've been acquired, so we'll just transfer your software across back to Expandy. Little did they know it was always Expandy anyway. So that was going to be like the seamless transition. And the idea was, to sell their white label back to them. That was the plan in order to hire me. That's where we got to of October 2022.
All right, so you have an idea to exit, sell it back. How do you approach it? That this is pretty unheard. That hey, I have a white label, I want to sell it back.
So coming out of football, before I went to startup, I had one other job interview, and it was like a real estate business. And so I said, let me have an interview. And the lady said, Pat, you'll be perfect for the role, but you're unemployable. And I got really sad. And I said, what do you mean? I would be great for this. I've got ideas how to fix it. I know how you could change this. I don't like this. I think you can improve it. And he's like, that's why. You don't want to come into this business to do a job. You want to tell us how to do it. You're unemployable. I was like, thanks. So that was the very first job interview I ever had. And then many years later, when I'm speaking to Expandy, I've grown this, I thought, I'm not really employable. Like, I can't just close this and you hire me as head of growth or something, because there's one, in terms of my earning capacity to always grow an agency, to always do training, that it's not really good return on investment if you pay that as a wage. And it's a lot of pressure if you're paying a huge wage for something that I can't deliver that. But the other one is I'm too sort of flippant in terms of I want to try new things. I want to learn new things. I want to have flexibility. And so we were talking a lot about this, and it got to the point where I said, I would accept about 50K to sell this, because I'm not built anything. We'll build a good revenue, and then I would start a new job with them. And so it got to the point of saying, let's talk about equity, because I'm not joining this company for wage, closing my own one, because I'm bringing to you 35 grand a month, monthly revenue from the day I start. If I leave and take that to somewhere else, you're losing that money. So now it gets very confusing, but because I was a white label, 35K I was making and they were getting like, say, 10. If I join them full time and they get quiet, now they're getting 35K because they're getting the full chunk of it. So I could double bring more money to them. And it all, the difficult thing was they had founder, which was brilliant, developer was brilliant, an angel investor who not so much brilliant, didn't like him. And my argument with them was, I think you can scale without me, but I don't think you can scale to the levels you could do, like I could help you. That was my sort of pitch, to say, I can really help you go from this 3 million to 10 million, probably in about an extra year and a half. And it was just weird. I think the angel investor was just trying tough love, or just trying to be tough, where he was just a bit of an idiot the whole time, literally saying things like, oh, we don't need you. It'd be nice to have you, but we don't need you. And I was like, literally all you need to say is, Pat, we would love you. We need you. Please join. I'll be like, yeah. Like, he didn't read the signs of, I've never really been an employee. Just show a bit of love and I'll join. Like, I don't need lots of money. Show me you really want me and I'll join. And he went the opposite. We had a couple of rounds of talks. We agreed on equity and commission. But the tricky thing was they were on 3 million ARR. So they're already making very good money of a very small team. And I said to him, if I join, I would want part equity straight away, not sweat equity over a couple of years, because there's just no motivation. And they were really against that, saying, we've worked so hard to get here, we shouldn't give you a percentage of that. And I said, I'm not going to risk joining unless I get a percentage from day one. Otherwise, it's not enough for me. Anyway, we had a bit of a heated discussion, a few things, and he said, let's sleep on it. And so the next morning I worked into the office, and Stefan, the founder, said, yep, we've made a decision. I'm in. He's like, cool. Glenn said, I'm in. And then the angel investor said, I'm not in, but it's a majority, so let's do it. I was like, no, like, okay, I'm not going to join a company where a third of them don't want me to join. This is bizarre. Like, it's like a cap table where one person has 30% of equity, but just doesn't do anything. It's like, there's a big flag here to say something's not going to work. And so I said, let me think about it. And that was the point where I realized, this is not right. I can't go into a company that the marketing and sales want me there, but the original investor doesn't. Like, he could have been on the fence, but he said, like, it was a no from me. I was like, it has to be 3 yeses. And that's basically where it didn't happen. And so very quickly we went from white label software to we need to change. It's a bit toxic. And it got to the point where I got my wife involved to say, can you manage the communication? Because both sides were so passionate to make it work. We were so pissed off it didn't work, because there's so much, not resentment, but just frustration of like, this should have worked, but it didn't. And because that didn't happen, I very quickly changed to, well, I don't really want to be a white label. I want to try something else. So we really changed everything, got rid of a lot of software, and started rebuilding the agency back up to get rid of software clients on $99 and take on agency clients on sort of $1,000. And so it sort of dropped. And then it took us to November 2023 to get to about 26,000 as a agency. We had downgraded, rebuilt, and then back up again.
Okay, so now we get to you going to US for another round of negotiations. How does that fit into a picture?
Every January, February for the past 2 years, I've ended up going to Thailand, a fitness training camp, working from there. And this year, I arrived there, had about a week's work, and then I just realized, like, the intensity of how I'm working here is not what I want to do. And I feel like I'm trying to sell my product more than invest in time and how to help people make sales for their business. It's lost its soul a little bit. And it was basically a case of, if we take on more revenue than we lose, we're growing. And I was like, I don't want to lose anybody. Like, why would you not want to work with us? The product's not good enough. And we had a lot of that. We would take on 3K, lose a K, take on 5K, lose 2K. And my team thought, great, we're growing revenue. But it was hurting me to think there are startups that have come here, got okay results, but nothing great. I want to be great. And so that was the flag for me to say, I want to change this. I want to go back to my core of what I've always wanted to do. Basically today, where it's right, I'm ready to launch my next thing. And my original plan, and always has been, is I want to have as much impact as I can. I want to help hundreds of thousands, not 10 in a startup program. So the idea was, big inspiration is on Substack. There's a guy called Lenny's newsletter, has about 700,000 subscribers, really detailed product guides, videos, that sort of thing. And that was an inspiration for me to say, there's an angle like here for me to do a similar thing. And so that was my plan, to build a Substack, build a community, leverage all the knowledge that I have to start writing my own content and then start interviewing other people. So a month ago, one of the LinkedIn softwares reached out to me and said, we're building a new product. It's going to be built from foundations of AI, whereas all of the tools are adapting to AI. This is built on the platform of AI personalization. It's going to be incredible. We're well funded because we've got our own other product. And our marketing plan is going to be everybody can have it for free for life until December. All you have to do is sign up and bring all your clients away from competitors. I was like, wow, this could go spectacular. I'm in, I think. So I had a chat, and that was the first round I had a conversation. I said, yeah, this sounds good. And then I said, okay, I need this to start 1st of August if we're going to do it. And so the founder said, great, come to the US and get to know each other. And I said, cool. So where you live? New York, Boston? And he's like, no, Nashville. I was like, oh, right. So it wasn't the sort of startup tech hub I was expecting, but it was brilliant in terms of I had a weekend traveling to Nashville, exploring. And then we had 2 days of talks. The talks were great. I showed him how we would scale the product, how we would change his product, a little bit of some new features. So everything seemed great. And then they just get a text saying, we need to pause things for a month. Developers have got a few different ideas. They're not sure what to push yet. And I was like, I'm not pausing anything. You're sort of a spanner in my works. Unless we're going live 1st of August, I'm building my own business and I'm going for it. I was like, either one of these businesses could be a 10 million ARR software charging 99 euros a month, which means enormous impact, a voice, a podcast, a community, all these things you need to do to get to that scale. And I would have loved to have done that. But it means that because I haven't done that, it's freed me up to build my own community, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, I also a big fan of Lenny's work.
Yes.
And so what have you learned from there, or what's your angle? How do you want to build it up as a community so that everybody can benefit out of the community?
So there's a few things. So I come up with this idea of when I train people on sales, I talk to them about dating. And I do the simple thing to say, if you're going to meet someone for the first time as on a date, you're really bothered about what you wear. You're bothered about how well you listen. And when I train people like that in sales, it sort of makes sense. It's the logic of communication. You have it instilled in you from years of heartbreak as a teenager and learning what to do and what not to do. You know how to try and get somebody on a second date sort of thing. And so when I apply that to sales, people find it much more obvious to say, well, I should send 2 or 3 emails, but not 10. I should send something really personalized to make the person feel nicer. I should make my LinkedIn profile look like how I am personally and not a over corporate version that I'm not or something. So a lot of this thing, I was trying to think of what's the relationship between both. And so the community of the brand I'm building is called Relationship of Sales. And for 2 reasons. The relationship between real world dating and sort of digital sales, but also the relationship between everything you should do for traction should be interlinked. And so you should do a LinkedIn event that then goes to automated onboarding emails. You should do a Facebook group to then get emails to do one-on-one. You should do LinkedIn content to then scrape people to then message them one by one. Like all these tools should interconnect and have a relationship together. So that was the idea of what I wanted to build. And with Lenny's newsletter, what I found right from the start was he had a huge focus on branding. And you could tell his theme throughout was warm, approachable, that sort of thing. And so I realized I'm too much of a salesperson, not enough invested in branding. So for the past 2 months, I've been doing training about once a week, just for 90 minutes with a branding designer to train me on everything and then create my own branding. All things that I would brand as bullshit PR are actually really, really genuinely important. I'd never put enough focus on just what it stands for your brand and what people get used to. So Lenny's newsletter did that very, very well. But he's generally a man of the people. He just wants to help everybody. He doesn't ever want to be employed again. He just says, I want to help people have this opportunity to build a cool community. And then I've learned a lot from him that he said it took him about 5 years to get to the revenue where he's at. And then it took him about a year to get to the same revenue just from YouTube. So by building one community and then doing another channel can really, really leverage. And just inspiration from him on affiliates, from hiring, he can just have a huge impact. And I'm at this stage in my life now where I've trained so many companies and I get nervous after every training. And then afterwards, I get such positive feedback that I think I wish I could do this over the thousands instead of the tens, because every day I'm coming up with ideas and hacks, but those 10 people only know about it. But I would love to have an impact on a lot of people. So I'm going to be building the community online, but I want to be focusing on building this very early, just to have a bit of feedback or impact on the local startup ecosystem that nobody's ever seen me around. Nobody knows I live here as an introverted guy in his office, but I'm actually going to be popping up at startup trade shows and fairs. So that's the idea, and that's what I'm really excited about and laser focused to get started on that. And then that's just going to be slow and steady. Well, I say slow and steady. I'll be crazy obsessive and burn out, but I'll try slow and steady to go for it. I don't know the charging, but a paid might be $10, $20 a month. But when I do go to a paid account, I can now start to slowly build that. And all the things I've learned from online academy, white label, consulting, it all goes to now I can deliver this. So all of that hard work in the past has been learning, hopefully, to get to this point of deliver something that can be really, really effective and impactful. I'm trying to get this community started, but I get so many inquiries of people saying, can we work together? Can I do a talk? That I'm overwhelmed with gratitude, but I don't outreach this. But there's just built a cycle of I always give a lot that somebody says, oh, he's the go-to guy for that. And I think people should always do that. Give away some of your time to help people, particularly in startup world, because you never know that developer, that salesperson, that marketer, whatever, will go on to do amazing things. That's my passion. And how can I build guides and resources to just copy and get expected results? That will be my goal.
So anybody interested, they should look up at Substack Relationships of Sales.
Well, it's going live soon, so yeah, I'll share the link. So it'll be very lean, but as always, I'll be learning as I go.
But yeah, Patrick, it was awesome as always.
Thank you so much.
A pleasure being with you here today and learning awesome stories and awesome nuggets of wisdom at what to do in difficult times and use the opportunities, use the knowledge from failures to go to the next level. And thank you very much, and see you around.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining the show. I am Kalev.
I'm Diana.
Until next time.